Hello. It's been a while since I made a video, but I have good reasons. First, I moved to Vermont and I'm in a new studio. Second, this studio is also the location of a music school I just opened called Peak Music. Setting this place up and getting it open has been a lot of work, so I appreciate your patience in my little sabbatical here. I'll post a link somewhere if you want to check out the school and the studio. We're diving into an advanced topic today, using minor and major pentatonics interchangeably in a blues setting. I have divided this topic into two parts. So in part one, we will cover how to use major pentatonics, minor pentatonics, and blues scales interchangeably. In part two, we will cover using the Mixolydian scale and how to combine major and minor pentatonic scales to create a hybrid scale. So why should we learn this? If you're feeling stuck in your improvising or have reached a plateau, this video is for you. Many guitarists get comfortable with familiar scales and licks, making their solos sound repetitive. Let's break out of that habit by diving into theory and concepts, giving you more tools and faster thought processing in your playing. I've covered minor and major pentatonics in detail before, so check out those videos if you need a refresher. Links to those videos are in the description. So what is the blues exactly? The blues is a classic American art form with roots in the 18th and 19th centuries, peaking in the early mid-20th century. It's known for its rhythmic swing, improvisatory nature, and harmonic structure. That's just a fancy way of saying chord progression. In this lesson, I'll show you how the blues allows for different scale options when soloing. By the end, we'll create a hybrid scale combining elements of 4 different scales. We are learning blues in this lesson because the skills and concepts you learn from improvising over blues will carry over into many other styles of music like rock, jazz, and country. So I consider the blues a must-learn for guitar players. The first step in improvising over a blues is learning the minor pentatonic scale. If you don't know it, I have a few videos on it. Links are where links go. In today's lesson, we're going to be basing everything off the key of A. So here is the A minor pentatonic. We got A, C, D, E, G, A, C, D, E, G, A, C, and then backwards. I just played that scale by starting with the tonic on the E string. The tonic in this case is the note A. The word tonic here refers to the note the scale is named after. Due to the nature of the guitar, we can move this pattern to different frets along the E string, and it will yield a minor pentatonic in a different key. When we use this pattern, the tonic is always the first note we play on the low E string. So we can call this pattern the E string tonic pattern. Others may refer to it as box 1 or shape 1. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then please check out my video on the 5 shapes of the minor pentatonic. Now let's play the A blues scale. A, C, D, D sharp, E, G, A, C, D, D sharp, E, G, A, C, and then back. Did you notice I pretty much just played the minor pentatonic again, but I added one extra note. That note is called the blue note. Let's go over the notes in each scale again. Here's A minor pentatonic. A, C, D, E, G, A. Now for A blues. A, C, D, D sharp, there's that extra note, E, G, A. And then it carries on one more octave, right? So the note that got added again was D sharp. That note is a tritone away from the tonic and is called the blue note. For improvising over a standard blues in the key of A, you could play either the A minor pentatonic scale or the A blues scale. If you've watched my previous videos on pentatonics, then you know I like to break down scales into their E and A string tonic patterns. What I mean by this is that we can start the scales we learn either by finding the tonic on the E string, like we just did a second ago, or on the A string. Take a minute to look at the E and A string tonic patterns for the minor pentatonic and the blues scale. The tonic in each diagram is indicated with a little bullseye. You may want to take a screenshot for future reference. In most standard blues progressions, you can use parallel minor and major pentatonic scales. When you encounter a major key and a minor key with the same tonic or starting note, they are called parallel keys. For instance, the keys of A major and A minor are parallel keys. Same would go for C major and C minor, or D major and D minor. So if we're playing a blues in the key of A, we can also use the A major pentatonic instead of the A minor pentatonic. Here's a common way to play the A major pentatonic scale. A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, A. And then back. Sounds a little happier, right? A little more major than our minor pentatonic. Now the A major pentatonic looks just like the minor pentatonic, but it's shifted down 3 frets. Check this out. Here's the A minor pentatonic one more time. Now I'm going to shift down 3 frets, the whole shape. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Now, if I play a major pentatonic, I'm going to start on that same note A that I started on for the minor pentatonic. I'm just 3 frets down now. So I'm really starting on the second note of the pattern. Here it is one more time. If I play that major pentatonic pattern, but I actually start on what we would think of as the first note in the pattern, this note here on the 2nd fret, that note is F sharp. And F sharp happens to be the relative minor to A. So relative keys is a concept we've covered before. Major and minor scales with the same set of notes, but different tonics or starting notes are referred to as relative keys. A major and F sharp minor are relative keys. I'm going to use pentatonics to prove this. So here's A major pentatonic again. A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, A. All right. Now here's F sharp minor pentatonic. I'm in the same position here. Check this out. F sharp, A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp. So they're really the same scale. You're just starting on a different note, or you're making a different note the tonic. And you can hear it. It actually kind of gives the scale a different vibe depending on what note you start on. So here's major again. Here's minor. The reason I'm telling you this is because I want to show you how to play the happy blues scale. The happy blues scale is a major pentatonic scale that adds the blue note from its relative minor. So, if we are using A major pentatonic, we will add the blue note from its relative minor, which we just went over is F sharp minor pentatonic. Or in this case, it'll be the F sharp blues scale. So I'm going to now turn that F sharp minor pentatonic in a blues scale so we can figure out what that blue note is, okay? And you're going to see it's C natural, okay? So here it is. F sharp, A, B, C natural, C sharp, E, F sharp. Finally, we can create a happy blues scale by playing A major pentatonic and adding that blue note from the F sharp blues scale. Okay, so the happy blues scale will be A, B, C, C sharp, E, F sharp, A, B, C natural, C sharp, E, F sharp, A. So now we have 4 scales to choose from when playing a blues. We have the minor pentatonic, the major pentatonic. We also have our 2 blues scales, the traditional blues scale and the happy blues scale. So here are the E and A string tonic diagrams for the A major pentatonic and the A happy blues scale. Take that screenshot again, all right? If you listen to great blues guitarists like Eric Clapton, Freddie King, or Jimi Hendrix, you'll hear them mixing major pentatonics, minor pentatonics, and blues scales all the time. So here's how to start doing this. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find a backing track. You can do this on YouTube, Spotify, or I highly recommend downloading the app iReal Pro. I'll put a link to it down below, but it's essentially an app that allows you to design and edit your own backing tracks for practicing. So then you want to determine the key of the blues. If you are playing a standard 12-bar blues, the key is typically the first chord. Or if you're searching YouTube, the title of the backing track will likely be Blues in the Key of Blank, or whatever the key is, right? So let's say you're in the key of C. Now you want to find the locations of all your scale shapes. For C minor pentatonic, C blues, C major pentatonic, and C happy blues. Each time through the progression, pick one of the 4 scales. Listen to how each scale sounds and what particular notes sound better or worse to you. Then you will identify which scales and notes work better over specific chords. This might seem a little more challenging, but most 12-bar blues progressions have only 3 chords: the 1, the 4, and the 5 chords. If we are in the key of A, the 1 chord is A, or A7. The 4 chord is D, or D7, and the 5 chord is E, or E7. So when you are improvising, all you need to do is keep track of where you are in the progression. When you hear a note you really like or dislike, make note of where it is on the fretboard and what scale you were using. If you can even figure out the note name, that's even better. Then make note of which chord you were playing over. Here are a few hints to get you started. So over the 1 chord, you can use the A major or A minor pentatonic. You can also use the A blues and the A happy blues. So essentially all 4 scales we've gone over should work. The question is, which one do you think sounds best? And depending on the tempo or the feel or the mood of the blues, your choice might change. Over our 4 chord, or the D chord if you're in the key of A, I would stick with the A minor pentatonic or A blues scale here. But you can also try playing a D major pentatonic if you want a slightly different vibe and a different challenge. So if you're in your A blues, right? You're just gonna kind of come up here, 2 steps, 2 frets, right? Now my pinky's on D. And I have D major pentatonic, okay? So over the 5 chord, you can use the A minor, A major pentatonic, or A blues. And so here are some other tips as you experiment with this. Soloing is all about context. So what you've played before will affect what you're about to play. If you play over a whole 12-bar blues using A minor pentatonic, but then abruptly switch to A major pentatonic on the last 2 bars, it might sound a little weird and disjointed. If I'm talking to you about a movie I just saw, but then start randomly talking about what I just ate for breakfast, you might think I'm a bit strange, right? Remember when you play a solo, you were trying to say something evocative but coherent. So, don't feel like you have to use all the scales when you solo. Don't try to play too many notes or play too fast. Remember, we want to hear what you have to say, so say it clearly. Try to find your own ways of moving between the scales smoothly. There are notes that the 4 scales all share. There are also cool chromatic runs you can execute to move between the scales. Just so you know, that's pretty much what part 2 of this video will be about. Find backing tracks with extremely slow tempos when you first start practicing this. If you are using YouTube, make sure the backing track displays the chords as they're being played. You want the tempo to be slow enough so that you have time to read the chord and make note of what scale you are playing over that chord. Also, make sure you're practicing the scales on their own. Don't just start trying to play over backing tracks without having the scales memorized. Other than that, use your ear and be honest with yourself. If something sounds bad to you, it probably sounds bad to someone else. So stop and investigate what's going on. In part 2 of this video, we will create a hybrid blues scale that uses elements from all the scales we went over today. This will allow you to make smoother transitions between scales and even use 2 or 3 of them all at the same time. I've put an accompanying PDF in the description of this video that mirrors what we went over and has some exercises and links for you to try. As always, my content is free to the public, so if you like the video, please hit the like button and subscribe buttons. Tell your friends, okay? and I will see you all back here for part 2. Until then, be easy and peace.